Hey everybody, welcome back to Penny Prepper. Today's video is going to be discussing winter emergencies. Today's video, I'm going to ask that you hit the subscribe button, give it a like, and share with any like-minded folks that you have. Just because you live in a warmer area or climate doesn't mean that you can't have snow, freezing conditions, or any type of winter emergencies. I think a great example of this is, for the first example, is in Los Angeles. It actually snowed for, I think, the first time since 1949, or at least a measurable amount. So that's what I mean. Just because you may live in Florida or somewhere southern more, that you don't typically get colder weather. Texas the other year was a great example. Their power grid is actually independent, and when they had that deep freeze the other year, that wreaked a lot of havoc, caused the power grid to go down, and that's a great example. People that weren't used to it, their houses weren't used to it, they didn't have the clothing, they weren't used to that type of climate, and that type of emergency is really crucial for people who are not used to experiencing something like that. All right, if you do live in a colder climate, you're probably already prepared for a lot of this. But if you live in a southern climate or somewhere it doesn't get too terribly cold, you should really prepare. So, you need to keep these things in mind as far as your utilities, like water, electric, gas, having generators on standby, solar power if you have the ability. But the biggest one is really going to be electricity and water. A lot of times the grid will go down, ice will accumulate on the wires, and that can cause them to snap or have disruptions in service. And as far as water, not a lot of people down south really understand that when it gets below freezing, your pipes won't freeze, but as it gets colder and windier, for example, and the cold seeps into your house, the pipes they won't immediately freeze. They can be 31 degrees, 30 degrees, even 20 degrees. They probably won't freeze and burst, but once they get down to a certain temperature, the water will freeze, expand, burst the pipes, and you won't know until after the freeze is over, because the water will start flowing again once it warms back up. And something that you need to keep in mind is, if you are somewhere and you're not able to heat your home, like in Texas, I'm sure that they don't really prepare for colder climates, you may need to shut your water off to save your home from bursting pipes. One solution that a lot of people discovered in Texas the other year and other places is making microclimates in your house, and that might be using one room in your house, typically it's your bedroom, and then taking a tent, putting it on your bed, or building a makeshift tent out of blankets, and closing all the doors in your home, putting on your warmest clothing, and then making a microclimate, making it as warm as you can in that one room to conserve energy. So if you do have a one of those little buddies or the big buddies, the warming propane tank type things, you'd be able to use it in that one room and keep yourselves warm enough to survive. All right, before the rush even starts of the weather forecast comes out, or typically it's the day before or 2 days before that people start rushing out, and you know the typical items. It's going to be eggs, bread, and milk. A lot of people, I guess, are going to be making a lot of French toast, whatever, it's up to them. But you need to get those supplies typically before that even. If you hear that there might be some bad weather, stock up, or you should at least have 2 weeks on hand already. Make sure that your batteries are charged, you have fuel, you have any of the supplies that you might need to self-rescue, or you have your phones charged up, any essential medication. Go out and get it before anybody even has the idea to rush out and get it. You should always have a little bit of a stockpile of essential items. During the emergency, listen to the news on TV if you have it, internet, phone, and one thing that will typically be working no matter what the condition of the ice storm or snowstorm is going to be the radio. Stay in contact with somebody as long as you can on the phone, either cell phone or landline if you have one of those, and try to make sure that they're unaffected by the snow, because chances are if they're affected, then both of you won't be able to contact each other. Also, have and make sure that your carbon monoxide detectors are working and in good order. All right, after the snow has stopped and things start to clear up a little bit, you're able to actually get an assessment of the situation. Be prepared to self-rescue or bug out if you need to. Depending on what's going on at the house or what's going on in the neighborhood, you may very well need to do that. Conserve your resources as long as possible until you need to bug out. Take some with you if you have the ability to. Also, if you're able to, tell somebody, hey, as soon as it stops, I'm going to contact you, or as soon as I'm able to, and then tell them if there's so much time that goes by, try to let somebody know I might need help. Same with emergency services. If you have a medical condition or know somebody that is in your house that does, you can probably contact emergency services prior to the event and let them know, hey, I have this going on. Could you please try to have somebody check on me at some point as soon as, they're not constantly running or even during runs, just to check on you and make sure everything's okay. A lot of times they won't have too much of an issue with it. My call to action for emergencies, for winter type emergencies, is going to be have a heat source and learn the shutoffs of your home, so that if you do need to leave your home during such an emergency, or let's say you are in a southern climate and you're not able to heat your home enough, that you're able to shut those utilities off to preserve the core of your home. Because like I always say, your home shelter is the most important, because bugging out should always be a last resort. All right, that's all I have for today's video. If there's anything you would like to see me cover in any upcoming videos, please leave a comment and let me know. Stay safe and stay prepared.